reason that there has not been an HGH test figured out. And we talked with John McMullen yesterday. There's a lot of issues about the actual HGH testing and how effective it is. But these guys don't even want to play with that because of the possibility. I'm telling you. I mean, think about this. For how long the NFL Players Association has put this off and stalled this off and fought and fought and fought. I mean, if this thing goes into effect, I'm just curious, in this first season of testing, how many people get popped right there? I mean, I think that, and you're not talking about something where guys have had 6 months notice, not that they need it, a couple weeks with HGH is good enough, but even then, this is stuff that guys are just now like realizing, oh man, wait a minute, they're not talking about 3 months from now. They're talking about voting on this thing at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think that there's a lot of panicked agents and players maybe very secretly sweating it out going, man, what am I going to do? I'm either going to have to get off and I'm going to, lose some of whatever edge it was giving me, or I'm going to get caught. Very, very interesting, because I know a lot of players want the marijuana changes, and I agree. I think that it's an archaic set of rules that the NFL is working with, but they're playing this very smart. They are leveraging the marijuana thresholds against the HGH, and I'm just curious, do more players want to smoke pot, or do more players want to be able to get away with whatever they may be doing to enhance their performance? Very interesting dichotomy right there, man.
Yeah, well, there are a bunch of medical people that believe that marijuana has the recovery powers for these athletes to keep them relaxed and keep their bodies in fine shape, because you cannot be tightly wound like a slinky, like a giant spring all the time. That your body has to be in relaxation at some point. And this actually is something, it's been scientifically proven. It helps cancer patients, and I'm telling you, I know about that firsthand. I watched, I lost a mom and a brother, and I saw my mom be in less pain for the little bit of time that she used medical marijuana than when she was on the morphine.
Oh, see, you're on the wrong side with me. I am pro changing those rules. I'm good with that. This is 2014, man. My eyes are wide open about the marijuana side of it. I'm talking about the HGH side of it.
No, I understand. I know, and I agree with you. HGH doesn't really belong in professional sports, but let's figure out how the heck you're going to get all these guys off it. And, not have these guys. It's not like it's an addictive drug.
Hold on. It's not an addictive drug. No, HGH and steroids are completely different. There are physical repercussions to steroid use that does not come with HGH. Now, there's a lot of differences there, but it's basically you get all the good, the advantages from steroids without the bad. Difference is it costs much, much more. Prohibitively, it's more expensive than using traditional anabolic steroids. But when you make the level of money that they make, they're obviously able to take that. But I mean, it's not like this is something they're addicted to. You might get addicted to how well you play. You might get addicted to what you look like in the mirror after you get done pumping weights every day. But you don't get addicted to being on HGH. That's a choice. Like drinking a Monster in the morning when you wake. Actually, you're more addicted to the Monster because the caffeine has got you going. You know what I mean? So,
right.
That's just simply, wow, they're about to find out that I'm not exactly as fast as they thought I was. That I'm not really 235. I'm really 215, and maybe I don't hit just quite as hard as I did. You're going to see a lot of changes in the physical. I think a lot more guys, I'm not saying that a lot of guys won't still look like Adonises physically, but you'll see a lot more guys having that offensive lineman physique. And what I mean by that, I don't mean the big uglies, but I mean less ripped, more size, more realistic looking bodies, less looking like they're cut out of a Greek god. You know what I mean? So you'll see some of that.
Yeah.
You'll see some differences. But yeah, I'm just curious if enough of those guys are willing to say, you know what? I'm gonna give it up, or I'm gonna put myself at risk here with these tests, and so we'll see. It'll be interesting. 1:30 is what I'm hearing. What the talk to all of the agents of the various players and see where the agents are sitting with what they think they can get away with a vote on this or not. Because I'm telling you, LG brought it up earlier. It's the 32 player reps that are crafting the agreement, but that's only because you can't get 1,500 people into a room and try to get this done. They're going to take it back to those players, and then they're the ones that are going to have to pass it. By the way, I don't know the threshold. When the Players Association puts that to a vote, is it simply a simple majority? Does it just need to be 51 to 49% to pass, or does it have to be 75% of the union? What percentage has to agree to it to ratify that from the Players Association?
I believe it's 60%.
Okay.
It's not 2/3 with 3/4. I do believe it's 60%, but I'm going to check that out.
But yeah, so you still need
a message when I have an answer for you, because I have somebody that I could. I have a few people that I could ask.
So there's your threshold, guys. We've been talking about that today. You need 60% of the players in the NFL to agree to this, and I think it's going to be a lot closer to 50, 55%. Even we talked about a poll a couple of weeks ago where the players were polled about would they be willing to give up or to give the HGH testing in exchange for lower marijuana violations and things like that. And even then, it was only, I think, between 60 and 65% of the players that said yes. Obviously, that's a small sample size, but if you need to get to 60%, you're already cutting it close, and that's before agents start calling their guys and going, listen, this is off the record, you and me here. Where are we at with this thing? And one by one, they're checking their clients off and going, wait a minute, you mean 30% of my clients would fail if they got tested tomorrow? And all of a sudden, this thing will not pass. So it's going to be really interesting the next 24 to 48 hours with this thing.
Yeah, I think you're being generous with that 30% comment, to tell you the truth myself.
Oh, there you go. We'll see. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm trying not to bury everybody. I don't want to make it sound like every NFL player is on the sauce, but there's a whole lot more of them than you guys think. That's definitely for sure. So I think this vote will show that. It's almost like I wish you could get a player-by-player breakdown of who voted yes and who voted no, because you might as well just give yourself a list and say, well, I'm guessing most of these players have something that they're hiding here, and that's the reason that they voted no. Not all of them. Some of them were voting no for principle, but I'm willing to bet a lot of them are voting no for the principle of I don't want to take that test, not for anything else, but we'll see. Hey, let's get to the on-the-field football, Dr. Football. Start with
Yay!
You saw it. You know what? We thought maybe with the season starting we could talk about football, but all of this off-field crap continues to be out there. Drives you crazy when you just want to watch a little football. Browns. Hey, but you know what? Some of these issues are bigger than the game. I get that. I definitely don't want anybody to think that I don't see that. But Browns, Steelers, 2 halves, 2 games. I'm talking to you. What did you think watching it? Give me your thoughts.
Well, it's basically the same thing that I feel about all the games this weekend. This was so topsy-turvy. This was so many changes. I'm just disappointed that a lot of the teams that have been, the preseason hype is not led up to expect here and now. This is going to be a disappointing season for a lot of teams in the NFL that think they are.
I agree. I mean, obviously, you're week 1. I mean, I think that every team has the opportunity to improve. I mean, I try not to look at anything in week 1, and you can see some things that may trend, but obviously you want a bigger sample size than that. I agree with you. Definitely surprised. I thought a lot of underdogs, including the Browns, stepped up and showed that, hey, at least on week 1, there's a more fight here than you may have thought there was. Some teams really surprised me with their victory. You know what, though? You're watching them, you're like, man, they're running all over. Boom, Chip Kelly turns on the gas, and 31, 38 points later, whatever it is, the Eagles are right back where you thought. But, so you try not to judge the whole season off of that, but I'm with you. I was surprised by some teams, obviously impressed by Denver, Seattle, a couple of the other teams. I thought New Orleans, Atlanta was a hell of a game, but the Browns and the Steelers, I mean, the first half really, separate from the second half. It all adds up to one game, though, but talk to me a bit about what you took away, good or bad, from what the Browns did well and what they didn't do well, obviously.
Well, obviously, there still needs some work to be done on the offensive line. I would like to see more consistency in both pass blocking and the run blocking, and that's something that lacked a little bit yesterday, at least in the pass blocking end. The Steelers still have, the rush that they have. I was a little more disappointed in the passing game overall. I really believe that the passing game is supposed to have this great appearance, and I didn't really see anything special on Sunday.
I disagree. I believe the passing game was supposed to suck this season, and I was relatively surprised that they got the continuity going in the second half that they did. Biggest difference to me is the fact that for the first time in a couple of years, the team had no choice in the second half but to respect the play action, because you had running backs that were actually being effective. I think if you said pick the one difference offensively, that's it. The fact that they were able to effectively run the ball allowed the play action to work. I mean, how in the hell otherwise do you think guys are wide open on crossing routes coming across the middle? Because the team actually bought on the play action. The team last year, play action was the most worthless play call the Browns had. All it did was wasted 2 seconds that you could have spent looking for a receiver, because they weren't buying that play fake at all. The way those young running backs stepped up and filled the hole for Ben Tate, and for all the people saying I told you so, by the way, I still don't have any update. It'll probably be tomorrow before the Browns have an official update on Ben Tate, but he goes out,
right?
Those guys step up. T. West with the 100-yard.
No, and I'm not saying that. And I know the runners did well, and I will say that they had fight in the second half. I just think that with all the hype that they made of not what they were inside, we knew they were worried about losing Gordon for the year, but they knew that they had some capability with the receivers they decided to keep, and I think that a lot of people were expecting more than they got. I think they were really thinking that the Browns were going to score 40 points in this game, and obviously that wasn't the case.
Oh, see, you and I are just on different planets here, because I don't know anybody that thought this Browns offense was capable of scoring 40 points in the first 3 weeks of the season put together. Just being realistic.
I had somebody tell me on my Saturday morning college football show, one of the guys that, works on the side, because that's something I have to travel for and do from a remote location. And, I turned and I looked to my partner, this guy's originally from Ohio, that's running one of our guys, and, that runs things. And he says to me, the Browns are going to be as good as you thought they'd be last year. And I said, no. This is a turnaround year, because I have a new coach and a new system coming in. They're not going to win 10 games. It'd be nice if they win 8 games, but they're not going to win 10 or 11 games. He's wearing his Jim Brown jersey, on the production, in the production site. So
and I've said this to some people, and I'm not going to go too far with this, because I don't think he comes back necessarily like some people do. But I will say that you add Josh Gordon back to this team, assuming that some of what we saw in the second half sticks, and that they legitimately can do some of that stuff they do on a week-to-week basis. I'm not saying 24 unanswered points. Obviously, it built momentum as it went along. You can't run the no-huddle over and over and over. You can run it more than people are giving credit, but you can't run it over and over and over. But, I will say, you get Josh Gordon back early enough in this season, the Browns really do. The outlook for this season, in my opinion, changes. I'm not saying it becomes a crazy high end, but this team can compete week in and week out in this division if they get Gordon back. And that's assuming that Cameron doesn't, because that's the flip side. Is I was telling somebody this morning, watch, knowing the Browns in Cleveland, they'll get Gordon back, and Cameron's shoulder separation will cost him 6 or 8 weeks. So no matter what, you end up losing one of those weapons that you need to have all on the field at the same time. I wonder about that one. But assuming you're healthy and you got your complement of guys, you add Gordon to it, I do think this team can compete in the division. They may not win it, but they can damn sure compete. I think they can compete the way they are now, but they have a much more realistic chance of pulling out some more victories. You add Gordon to this, I think it changes your outlook on